Hi everyone, I'm Jess and today I'm doing my November wrap-up. I only read the one book in November. I had a couple of exams at the end of the month, so other than a couple of accounting books, there wasn't really much else I was able to do. But I did attend the Sarah J Maas event in London, and so it was about time that I dove into this book, Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas. So I'd put off reading Tower of Dawn for a little while because Chaol is my least favourite character. I didn't much like him in Throne of Glass. Crown of Midnight was probably my least favourite in the series because it was so centred around him. And then since that it's been Rowan and it's been great, and actually Empire of Storms was absolutely excellent because he just wasn't in it at all. I remember when the cover came out for this, and in my opinion, not so much with this one, but this sigil very much reminds me of the Night's Watch. And if I get one of the UK copies, the way that the owl kind of spans out behind this, it's very much similar to the Game of Thrones, I think season 4 or 5, the cover for that where the crow is coming out. It just reminded me of that, and I thought, you know, that as great as that is, it just makes me want to watch Game of Thrones a bit more, to be honest. Having said that Chaol is my least favourite character, I do have 3 copies of this book. So the copy that I was reading was the US hardback, simply because that's easier not to ruin. I won't bend the spine. You can take the cover off and put it in your bag and not worry about it getting beaten up too much. I have then got the paperback Waterstones exclusive fan art edition that's got some artwork in there, the Chaol and Aelin artwork. I thought I needed to grab one of those just because it's a Sarah J Maas exclusive that's not going to be available forever, so I just thought I'd better grab it because I'll be disappointed if I don't in the future. And the last copy that I picked up was obviously later in the month of November when I went to the Sarah J Maas event in the Emmanuel Centre in London, and it's the one with the blue sprayed edges that is signed. Signed by her. So I do, as much as I dislike Chaol, I have 3 copies of this book. I finished Tower of Dawn the day before Sarah's event in London, and I did thoroughly enjoy the book. I didn't change my mind on Chaol as much as Irene changed my mind on Chaol, and I loved Irene when we saw her in that little kind of mini story in the back of, I can't remember if it was Heir of Fire. It was in the back of, at one point, it's not part of the Assassin's Blade, but I loved her and I was so excited when we heard that she was going to be coming back. I've been waiting for small characters like her to be coming back, and she did it in a big way, and I think I like Chaol a bit more just because he is involved with her and he can value her. I think that puts him in a slightly higher scale of where I respect him now. But he's still a grumpy bastard that has made an awful lot of mistakes, and he's still got a lot of work to do to gain back all the respect that he had from me from like the very beginning, that all of the people around him kind of had. Nesryn is a character that she was just kind of introduced in there for me. I wasn't a big fan or a big hater. She just was a character, and I didn't really have a lot of big feelings for her because in this series there are so many kick-ass female warriors and big characters that adding in a couple more this late in the series, it's just like I'm not as bothered. I like the characters, I know, I like what's going on. Nesryn is just someone who's appeared. And as much as people have formed huge opinions on her, I just didn't think there was enough material. It was more arguing with a character that I didn't like, so I didn't think it was fair to base an opinion on what she'd been doing in Queen of Shadows. Couldn't remember which book it was then. Her journey in this book was really good to see. I still don't quite rate her along with Manon or Aelin or even Alide, but she is definitely a character that brings her own and has got her own stories, and it's nice to see a family in here for once, because you don't see very many entire families in this series at all, and you actually get to meet some of hers, which was really sweet and nice to see, and it was good to see her development in this book. Sarah J Maas's writing, as always, was the perfect balance of dialogue and story and development, and that's development in the characters and in the plot. And oh my goodness, I mean, yes, you most definitely have to have read this to continue the series, because when people said that and sort of said to me that you've got to read it to understand what happens in the next 12 books, I went, surely how much difference could it have been? But my god, is there a lot of kind of revelations toward the end of this. This is getting to Sarah J Maas is the George R.R. Martin of the young adult section. She is going into lots and lots of detail that has obviously been a point from the very beginning, but we're only just starting to notice it now. It's just unwinding and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's amazing. I was so annoyed when this was announced to be coming out instead of the final book, because of course I don't like Kale. I was not excited at all. People were very excited, and I just went, oh, are you joking me? I've got to wait even longer to find out what happened to Aelin. I was absolutely furious. Having said that, it was a good book. It took me a while to get around to. I chewed through it at my own pace. I did enjoy it. There was good development. It was not disappointing. I am sold on any of Sarah J Maas's books. You know, as much as I didn't like the characters within, you can still like a story with unlikable characters in it. It is possible to be done. So as I said, in November I went to the Sarah J Maas event in London, where she announced that she was pregnant and with a baby boy. That's very exciting. She actually told us that it was only a couple of days before that they found out that it was a baby boy that they would be having, which is really exciting. And they had been to Harrods, I think the day before or the day that we were there, and she'd got a little baby girl in blue with wings on the back, which is just fantastic, because she'd been telling us about a couple of jokes with people and kind of younger teenagers with Wingspan t-shirts that she'd met at other tours, which was really funny. And she told some incredible stories. Samantha Shannon was chairing the event. She was asking some excellent questions, and I always take my trusty Newt Scamander notebook with me so that I can write down things that are interesting said, because I have a brain like a sieve. She had fantastic fun writing over Nesrin's part of the story, because it was by far the most high fantasy, highly fantastical section of the book, kind of like the areas that she went into and the creatures that she was with. It was, I have to agree, it was very high fantasy on Nesrin's side of the story, and so she was having a proper fangirl over her own writing. Sarah also said that Kale's story was very much one of hope and emotional healing in this book, which she tried not to make corny. Of course, if any of you got the Tower of Dawn pouch, hope is the big line on there. It's definitely something that I would agree with. It really is a story of hope. After all the darkness that you get in the rest of the series, this is the kind of light, the shining light that is going to come into the war. And it was really nice to have like that element shown to be coming into the Throne of Glass, and she didn't make it corny at all. I thought it was really well done, this book, so she got hit the nail on the head. She also spoke about how she had sensitivity readers. I think again she got it very well. I haven't seen anybody hugely offended or outraged by anything. I've only heard good things about Tower of Dawn, so I think again she did really well. She definitely tried to make it real whilst it was still in a fantasy setting, which I think was a really good and important detail of this book. It was still very relatable, I think, to anybody who is put in the position like Kale is in. Also spoke about the world and how she tried to set it sort of, I think it was southern Mongolia that she had drawn lots of inspiration from to put it into the settings of the real world. And there were little details in there, so it's not historical fantasy she was trying to point out, but there are things like that it was the first place to use paper money, and to have education for all, and all sorts of things. She was really important points she made on Genghis Khan. I think she did a lot of research into him, over the researching of this, and she was very excited when she started to talk about him. And I'm going to have to do some research into it, because it sounds like, actually, as awful as things that happened were, she put him in a very positive light for certain things that happened that come through in some of these books. So it's definitely worth research if Sarah was as excited as she seemed to be. So Samantha also asked about female inspirations for characters in this book, which opened up to an absolutely huge and incredibly inspiring story. Sarah's grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, born in Germany to a Jewish family, and I don't feel like I can tell the entire story. It was because it's definitely one who knows Sarah's grandmother to tell. I think it's Sarah's to tell. Like, if you ever get the opportunity to ask her about it, do, because it was phenomenal. The way she told it was incredible, and as Sarah said, it's the kind of story you could not make up. It was just incredible to hear and inspiring, and it was really quite an honour to. Sarah said it was an honour to tell it, and we all, I think, agreed that it was an honour to listen to it, and it was phenomenal to hear. And I mean, I've written it all down, and I wouldn't want to get any of it wrong, is the reason that I don't really want to say it. Because, you know, Sarah talks fast, and there was a lot of story. I mean, I've got 2.5 pages on this story that she just kind of relayed to us. And her grandmother sounds like this incredible woman who has obviously inspired some amazing women in her life. I mean, Sarah's mother is also a judge, and she deals with lots of family matters, and she absolutely tears into people, which I think Sarah, like, you know, probably inspired a fair few characters in Sarah's books. She was also asked about the accents that the characters have, and I remember actually reading a bit of a headcanon on the Court of Thorns and Roses series about how it's shaped a little bit like the UK. So what if maybe, I think it was like the Night Court had Scottish accents, which I can't, and then all different areas have the different English accents, and let me tell you that, no. I cannot imagine Reese with a Scottish accent. It would ruin it for me. But Sarah said the accent that you pick and imagine is going to be the hottest accent. So Sarah was asked about if she'd ever written a wedding scene, because we have had a couple of weddings in these books, these wonderful books by Sarah, and we've had no wedding scenes. And apparently Sarah did write the wedding scene for Akawar, A Court of Wings and Ruin, but it was incredibly cheesy, which is why it didn't end up in the final copy. And I can understand that. I mean, weddings, I think, are very, very difficult to write and relay and do properly. Like, in the movies, they can be so terrible sometimes. And I can imagine in books they can be even worse, because something that you find is very romantic or cute or elegant, somebody else can go, different perceptions can play into weddings so drastically. But she also spoke about how Jane Austen never wrote a wedding scene. In, you know, Jane Austen's work, some of it's incredibly kind of romantic and big couples are in those books, but their wedding scenes were never there. So she said not to compare them, but the fact that she's never done it, maybe in the future, but for now, if it's good enough for Jane Austen not to do a wedding scene, then it's good enough for Sarah. She was also asked if we would meet the Itka family, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which is Nehemiah's family, and Sarah kind of confirmed that we would meet Nehemiah's family, as well as be reunited with Knox, which created a huge resounding applause throughout the crowd. Everybody went mad at the mention of Knox's name and return. Apparently there are going to be lots of reunions in the last book, which you can kind of tell a couple more people came back at the very end of Empire of Storms, which is very, very exciting. But Sarah was a bit shocked about how everyone got so excited about Knox. She's done a reread apparently very, very recently of her books and doesn't quite understand where the obsession with Knox came from, which I've got to say, nor do I, but I kind of do feel it as well. I think he's just one of those little characters, and because we know that those little characters do come back with Sarah's books, it's like you always try and find one little character that you definitely want to come back, and Knox would be a good one, and I think he is coming back, which is going to be very exciting. There's so much to look forward to with the end of the Throne of Glass series, except for of course the end of the Throne of Glass series. I find that these books are right up my alley. They are exactly what I need all day every day. The characters are incredible, the development is great. I just thoroughly enjoy them. They're not as heavy as Game of Thrones, but they are as complex and serious and good in their fantasy element as something like Game of Thrones. And they have got their own film and TV series kind of booked in to go, and hopefully they go so well. I'm really hoping that they're done as well as the Game of Thrones TV series adaptation. They're always my benchmark to go to, Game of Thrones. Until then, I hope you have lots of snuggly good reads to cuddle up with. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!